No?
I know my trash behind me.
All right, are we ready?
I don't see it.
I'm going to call to order this regular meeting of the Page County School Board.
Mr. Gabriel?
Yes.
Mr. Payne?
Yes.
Dr. Payne?
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Chairman Terry Powell?
Please pause for a moment of silence as we prepare for the meeting tonight. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dr. Fox, do you have any agenda changes or additions?
We do not this evening.
Can I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second. We have a motion by Dr. Painter and a second by Mrs. Sullivan Smoot to approve the agenda as presented.
Mr. Payne?
Yes.
Dr. Payne?
Yes.
Mr. Gabriel?
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan?
Yes. Yes.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to certify that all personnel matters were discussed in closed session were pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A1 pertaining to the discussion, consideration, or interview of prospective candidates for school board employment, appointments, transfers, resignations, retirements, discipline, or performance of employees of the school board.
Second.
We have a motion by Mrs. Sullivan Smoot and a second by Mr. Painter to certify matters discussed in closed session.
Mr. Payne?
Yes.
Dr. Payne?
Yes.
Mr. Gabriel?
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan?
Yes.
Ms. Wolf?
Yes. We have one citizen comment. Thank you. Please just state your name.
Jordan Cho. It's nice to get to these again. I've only got a couple more before I'm back to writing comments, just so y'all know. Thank you very much, everybody. A couple quick things. I was confused on the budget work session. I didn't know if that was open to the public just for listening, not necessarily for comment or not. I couldn't tell from looking at board docs. If it's closed, it's closed. I was just curious, and I couldn't tell that looking at board docs. I looked at the red line, and I really appreciated noticing the pronoun changes to the use of their. So I hope that means that other policies are going to continue to be reviewed and fixed. I also, the last two things, the first one is that I'm not sure if everyone is aware, but Section 504 is up for review. Congress is looking at that. It hasn't been updated in like 50 years, and it's open for public comment. So considering the number of educators and people that use Section 504 and need those accommodations, I thought that might be worth mentioning. And then the last thing I kind of want to touch on is our gifted programs. One of the things that I've noticed is a lot of gifted programs, to qualify for them, you're based on achievement versus your aptitude. So if you're looking at somebody that's disabled, say they have dyslexia as an example, as a result of their dyslexia, if they can't operate at 2 full grade levels above because of the reading disabilities, it doesn't mean that they aren't gifted and maybe shouldn't need that enrichment, but it does mean they may not qualify, even though VDOE allows us in a gifted plan to say, hey, you have to be achieving at 2 grade levels above. So with the number of gifted people I know in various gifted organizations that do things like drive trucks, teach, become educators and administrators, rather than becoming rocket scientists and high-powered lawyers, we might want to keep that in consideration as we continue to go forward with our gifted policies. So thank you, and that's all I have tonight.
Thank you. The April minutes are posted for review. Can I have an approval for the consent agenda?
Making a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Second?
We have a motion by Dr. Painter, a second by Mrs. Sullivan Smoot to approve the consent agenda.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Monthly financial reports, Ms. Seacrest?
Yes, good evening, board members. You have been provided with the monthly financial report for April, where the total expenditures and revenue were $3,360,897.83. Along with that, you've also been provided with the local match calculation that we did balance with the treasurer's office. And if you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Thank you.
I make a motion that we accept the monthly financial, I'm sorry.
For information.
Oh, I'm sorry. Never mind.
You're good. Just a little ahead.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Dr. Johnson, admission of homeless children.
Good evening, members of the school board. Tonight, I bring before you a single policy, policy JECA, admission of homeless children. And I would like to just spend a minute taking you through some of the updates that are proposed. This is a priority currently. Our federal monitoring is requiring that we get this policy particularly updated. There are going to be more policies to come over the next month or so that we'll put before you, but particularly with as much transience as there is right now in the world and families relocating, it's very important that we get this particular policy updated. And I highlighted, you've got the red line, and so it's very easy to follow, all of the edits, but I highlighted just a few things, which basically the yellow highlight, you can see over and over and over again that it talks about the student's best interest, the student's best interest. This is all about making sure that that not only are we compliant in enrolling homeless students, but that we really make it seamless for them. And on the second page, it really jumped out at me. There's a bullet there, a couple of bullets there, and basically, even if students miss applications, enrollment deadlines, there's so much typically going on in their situation that this policy says we need to enroll them. We need to get them the support that they need as efficiently and as quickly as we can and make it as feasible for the family as we can. So that's very much in a nutshell what these changes are. It's just to open the doors to homeless families and get those students enrolled as quickly as we can to be supportive. So we would like to bring this back to you next time for approval.
So what's the definition of, is the definition of homelessness in this policy
Yeah.
at the very end?
You can see that.
Just a little bit. Right there. So A, B, and C primarily tell you who
Living
they-
in cars,
And we have a person here at the central office that oversees this. So if the schools, if there's ever a question, they can reach out to Ms. Owens, and Ms. Owens provides guidance on this.
How many do we have in the county of any?
I don't know that. I could find that out for you.
I think it's in the low 30s right now, but we'll get you an exact number.
and there's a network of 501c3s that we work with and make sure that everything's overlapping.
That's the point of this, is to try and, the same thing, just
Yeah.
lift these folks up and support them.
And just to confirm for our budget, that's another reason why we need a social worker. Because they would be instrumental in helping us connect these families with those resources.
And legally, there's a connection as well, right?
Oh, yes, McKinney-Vento.
But is that, I know there's been some misses on that. Okay, so how do you strengthen that connection? It's something we need to be aware of, for sure.
Well, part of it's the relationship between the schools and the parents, that they know it's okay. and not like something shameful.
Yeah, it's not a judgment on our part.
Yeah.
And oftentimes it's also, we have to work in collaboration with other school divisions because they may live in another school division or have resided in another school division, but end up here because that's how their homeless situation works out, and they think we can't work that out with another school division, but this policy articulates we're obligated to coordinate with other school divisions in the student's best interest to decide, do they come to us or do they stay with their home school division, and we work out the transportation and the cost and things.
It's only good for that school year. It's not like foster care.
Yeah,
They can-
all the way through, right, right. It's just a big issue now. It's bigger than it ever has been.
Which is why I think this one is a standalone, because we need this to be up to date and in practice.
Yeah.
Thank you. Facility upgrades, PCHS, Mr. Simmons?
Good evening, Dr. Fox, Dr. Johnson, members of the board. I'm just here to bring forth to you some information regarding to some upgrades that have been long overdue at Page County High School. I think you guys know that, open, honest communication, passionate leadership has been a big part of what I brought this year. When I interviewed, I talked about, I'm not from Page County, but by the end of the year, I hope people feel as if I was. And so establishing those relationships with the community has been absolutely vital. And I'm thoroughly excited about what the community has brought to the table for us here. You guys have this to look over. Teacher in me says, don't read from the slides, so I'm not going to read from the slides. Obviously the press box is something that was a gracious donation from the class of, I believe it was 1994. I'll double check that in a second. But it's something that needs to be upgraded for current technology, current utilization of coaches. Sound systems, there's information in there. A lot of those, typically when you install them, they're already out of date, much like our TVs, our computers, our smartphones, etc. Certainly you guys have all visited the bathroom facilities at Page County High School football field, and that, getting full-size partitions are obviously a big thing. The community requested a flagpole for the football stadium. We're ready to put that in. It needs to be lit, so there needs to be some electrical work there as well. And just some other cosmetic upgrades throughout all of our facilities, just to make, when people come to Page County High School, we already have, and really Page County Public Schools already has some of the most beautiful facilities at both campuses. Just making those facilities accessible and something that where people want to be there and they want to keep coming back. And that's kind of the goal for this. So I just went through the funding sources. Pioneer Bank donated $25,000. Jason K. with Shenandoah Woods donated towards the baseball field sound system. Blue Ridge Bank donated towards the gymnasium sound system. They also supplemented for a total of $25,000 towards the football upgrades. And then you can see numerous businesses got together with the VFW for the purchase and installation of the flagpole. The flagpole, according to Mr. Williams, is going to be just the right height. Can't go over 30 feet. I think we're going to be at 29.6 once we're in the ground. So,
35.
Okay. Well, once we're in the ground, we're going to be under 35 feet. That's the goal. So we checked all that out. As you can see, the total estimated cost of the projects right now, based on quotes that I've received, is $67,000. I've already secured $65,000 in funding for that. I do know that one of my quotes was the Cadillac quote, and they're willing to work me down to not get the Cadillac so that I will meet and not need to use any school board funds for this or any of even gate funds. It'll all be donated. There's some information there on the baseball sound system. The next slide is the new flagpole construction. The cool thing about the new flagpole construction is we're actually going to leave the old flagpole and we'll have a 24/7 Page County High School flag that will fly. So it enables us to really represent our school and in the flag at all times. The gymnasium sound system, obviously you guys have probably seen, if you've been to the gym this year, we've already updated some of the stuff there. And I kind of highlighted that with that picture. Real proud of, like I said, when people come, they get a sense of pride. I often said as a coach, if you look good, you feel good. Well, now as an athletic director, I feel like making the facilities look good. That's my responsibility to help my athletes feel better about where they're at and what they're doing. And you can see I broke it down as to who's covering each piece. And then finally, the football facility upgrades. We talk about the press box. Really the press box, the sound system, I think was there before the press box from the way it looks. But really the press box, if you go to other high schools, they've got an area where the coaches can be separated from the fans. And so that's first priority, separate coaches from the fans, let them do their job on top of the press box. It'll also help with videoing and recording for those purposes. The other areas that I really got feedback on was there was nowhere to protect the handicap from the elements. And so by extending that press box roof, we're going to now be able to provide a protection over top of the handicap area at the stadium so that if a handicap doesn't want to sit in the rain, because obviously, that's not good for their materials, now they'll be able to do that with some protection there. Also, it'll add permanent windows to the press box because currently we have the flip up and they're only held up by chains. So I worry about that for safety. Also, we're going to do electrical lights upgrades, and obviously we're going to upgrade the bathrooms for privacy safety concerns. We cannot upgrade the bathrooms to be fully handicap accessible. We'd have to tear the building down for that, but we are looking into some other alternatives for visitors who need access to handicap bathrooms. And we are also looking into, what's next. Always, constantly getting feedback from everybody about what's next and how we can continue, like I said, to make it a place where people want to come and enjoy watching their kids or their grandkids, or if it's a visitor, I want the visitors to say, this is a nice place to be. I like being here. Any questions?
Yeah, so on the gymnasium, do you have funds already for the sound system to be upgraded?
So with that, when Blue Ridge Bank contacted me, that conversation started with, where do I need help? And you worry about how can I represent the person who's donating, knowing that I'd already had a donation towards the football field. I felt like I kind of talked to Blue Ridge Bank and said, this is I showed them the 4 quotes I'd received. And they said, well, which one do you want? And I said, well, this is the one we want. They said, what's the price? And so Blue Ridge Bank has agreed to cover that.
Okay, and that sound system that you've chosen,
Yes,
you've heard that in another building?
it's in Waynesboro High School.
Okay, because I went to a Page County JV baseball game and sat down beside a fan, and the first thing they talked about was the gym sound system's difference between Luray Bulldogs
100%, and that's
and Page.
and I don't know if you've ever been to those schools, but Page still has the original what was installed, and Luray has a bank in the middle. So we won't actually have a bank in the middle. What we'll have is 2 subwoofers in the middle, or one subwoofer in the middle with 4 speakers spread out, one towards the visitor side and one towards the home side.
Okay.
So like I said, Waynesboro High School has that set up currently.
And so Luray's the original, the bank?
The bank, no, they've
updated theirs.
They've updated theirs, yes.
Okay, because that's what the question was the spec, and they blamed it on a certain principal at the time. That's in the room. He chose the spec. Like, I had no idea.
Like we said, technology changes. Like I said, probably by the time he installed that.
To give you some history, the sound system that's in there now actually was put in after the building. The original sound system was not as good as.
Okay, all right. Gotcha.
Yeah.
And really, the problem we have is the wiring issues of the sound system, because they go through the roof and they also go underneath the floor. This sound system will rely a lot more on some wireless capabilities, and so I think you're going to see, and it'll also give me wireless control as the AD to operate it from wherever I'm at in the gymnasium, which will be extremely helpful.
Be on an
because
iPad or something.
That's absolutely. And that's one of the issues we dealt with is when you have a system where everybody's going in there turning knobs, everybody messes it all up. And so now it's going to be non-touch. It's going to be all digital in the gymnasium, which is critical because, everybody that's in that could mess with.
Right.
I can turn it up. I can make the bass do this. That's not always the greatest.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, thank you. Didn't mean to throw any shade at you there.
Okay.
It's funny, Dr. Johnson and I were talking about it. This is actually something that he's also been passionate about in his time as principal is again, him and I talked about, there are 3 areas where everybody who visits your facility sees. They see your office and your common area. They see your gymnasium. They see your football field. you know, when you're inviting the community in, you want to be proud of what you have. And we have so many great things to offer here. I just want to make sure that pride beams as soon as they hit, and that there's no aspect of that turns them off from wanting to come back.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm going to head out to the soccer game. I'll see you guys.
Good luck. Superintendent's update, Dr. Fox?
Yes, thank you. Good evening. I have actually some nice things. We're going to start with a couple of celebrations tonight. As we get to the close of the school year, there's a lot of great things happening. We just want to say thank you to our teachers. Last week was Teacher Appreciation Week. We just want to take a moment to publicly thank them for their work, their commitment, and we celebrate all of our staff during Teacher Appreciation Week. So that thank you is extended to every employee in Page County Public Schools, and that includes you guys as the school board. Thank you for your continued support of our students and staff. And we just want to say to them again, thank you. And we know it's been a challenging year, and we're just so proud of them for their commitment and the work that they've done in the interest of students. Everything they've done has been in the interest of students. So we want to say thank you to them for that. This past Monday, we got a chance to celebrate some of our stars, and we honored our teachers of the year and our staff members of the year, and they're listed there for you. So again, we thank you to the board for supporting that event, to the principals, and to our central office staff who made that happen. It was a nice day to be able to smile and celebrate people instead of talk about COVID. So congratulations to all of those staff members, and we do want to recognize that our division teacher of the year is Rhonda Good from Luray Elementary School. So she will now be preparing her packet. When you get good things, more work comes. So she's going to now prepare her packet, and we'll submit that for the regional and state teacher of the year competition. So again, congratulations to all of those staff members. Last Friday was also School Lunch Hero Day. So we also want to say thank you to all of our nutritional staff. They've had a couple of challenging years as well, and they've manipulated and done what they needed to do. They've adapted to meet whatever the needs are of the school division. If we call and say, hey, we need meals delivered, they'll deliver those meals. And in the schools, they've been working with our principals and staff to meet whatever the needs are for the changing schedules and how we need kids grouped or ungrouped and things like that. So we just want to say thank you to them as well and recognize them as they celebrated their Hero Day last Friday. And then lastly, yesterday was School Nurse Day, and you know how critical our nurses have been this year and last, but I think essentially this year, they have helped us navigate the COVID virus all year with just in a variety of ways, whether it's talking with parents, keeping kids safe, helping staff members make decisions about their own health. They have been absolutely beyond critical to the work that we've done. So we are so grateful to them and just want to say thank you to them as we celebrated them yesterday. And a special thank you to Cindy Thomas, who serves as our lead nurse, for keeping everything in line for us. But again, just want to publicly thank that group of ladies for their hard work that they do, not only this year, but every year. And then also on, I believe it was Wednesday, or no, sorry, it was Tuesday. We had our signing day at the Technical Center. This was a lot of fun. 9 students officially signed their first contract for a job or signed a commitment to a fully funded program where they'll be able to continue their education in their chosen field. Those students are listed there for you in the different placements that they have. And we also want to take this opportunity to thank the businesses who are supporting them in these endeavors. So it's exciting for these kids. They treated sort of like a draft day where they get to sign. Each one was called up, some information was shared about them, and then they officially signed their first contract. So parents and other guests were there, and we want to thank the staff, Ms. Pettit at the Tech Center for all of her work, and the staff who helped make all of those positions doable and available for these kids because they're getting the certifications that they need to be eligible for these positions. And I do want to give a little shout out that Page County also Public Schools, we have a hire. Josh Hall will be starting with us on June 1st. He graduates on the 21st from Page High and will be joining us to start work on June 1st in our bus garage. So we're excited about that. And he is a student, obviously, from the Tech Center. So just want to congratulate those students and say thank you to the staff and the businesses. Just a quick update for you on COVID-19. Instead of showing you the dashboard, I wanted to show this to you. If you guys recall from earlier in the year, each month we took a look at the level of school impact chart, where you look at those variables of the transmission rates within the school, the student absenteeism rate, and the staff capacity. We've had a little uptick in the last week or so of some cases with staff and students, so you're going to see we were in all low for a while there. So you've got a little bit of an uptick there. We're keeping our eye on things right now. It's all under control. But we do want to recognize that there is a little bit of an uptick that we're seeing across the schools, particularly at Stanley Elementary School right now. We are still in the low range based on the CDC's data. So just keeping you abreast of that. We are in the middle of starting SOL testing, so we are hoping that this little uptick is just an anomaly and we can get through testing without a lot of interruptions. And then just a quick update for our public. We did have the session earlier this evening that was open to the public. Our next meeting will be on Tuesday, as long as things go well with the Board of Supervisors on Monday night and they adopt their budget. But right now, we still don't have a budget passed from the General Assembly. So we are at this point in time just in a hold tight, just a wait and see mode, which is unfortunate, but it's the reality of where we are. Once the General Assembly passes their budget, it still needs to go to the governor, who can then either approve it, amend it, or veto it. So we're hoping for some communication from Richmond soon and some information to be shared with us about what our funding will look like. As I just mentioned a few minutes ago, the Board of Supervisors is slated to approve and adopt their budget on Monday night, on the 16th. That will give us some idea of the level of funding that they're going to be providing to us. That will help us at least fill in that gap. The remaining gap will still be the state's portion of what they will fund. We are slated to meet at 5 o'clock next Tuesday here for the where we will potentially adopt our budget as is, knowing that we may have to make some amendments once we get the state numbers and or depending on where the Board of Supervisors lands with their money. And then as we shared with you guys earlier, we are going to go ahead and issue contracts. Dr. Johnson and his team will be working on that next week, and we hope to deploy those on the 24th. And we're asking staff to have them back signed electronically by the 27th, which is the last day of school. So to our staff that are out there listening, we just want to reassure them that they will get a contract. It will be based on our proposals in the governor's 2021 budget from December. And if we have to make amendments later on, we will do that and come back to you all with that information. And then just a couple of last little updates, just so that we can make sure everybody's aware of what's going on, because there have been a couple of changes lately. But again, Tuesday we'll have the budget adoption meeting here, 5 o'clock, open to the public. Thursday, May 26th, we just want to confirm and communicate that that meeting will be held at Luray High School. It will not be here, it'll be at Luray High School. And that will include our student recognition portion at the beginning of the meeting, where we will honor students who have some state level honor or award that they've received. Just mentioned this a little while ago, but we are in the midst of SOL testing at all of our schools, and that will continue through the end of the year. So we want to wish those students good luck, take your time, and thank you to our teachers for their work that they've put in to get those students ready. Believe it or not, our graduation ceremonies are just over a week away. Page High School will be on the 21st at 10 a.m. and Luray High School is at 6 p.m. on the 21st as well. So we congratulate those graduates and their families, and we're looking forward to those ceremonies. Pray the weather holds out for us, that there's no rain, and that we can hold those outside. And then the last day of school, again, believe it or not, we can't believe that we're here, is the 27th, Friday the 27th, and that is slated to be a 12:30 dismissal for students. So that's all I have for you all this evening, unless you all have some questions.
Well, just, it's nothing on that report, but as far as discipline and looking at the discipline that we dealt with this year and how we're going to move forward, when does all that start and what's the plan for that review?
So right now, principals, assistant principals, and other staff are giving Ms. Owens feedback on our code of conduct. We are going to meet on June 2nd to have our first meeting where we'll review those changes and updates. She's also getting updates from the Department of Juvenile Justice in terms of things we have to do in conjunction with the Department of Ed. We are revamping our student code of conduct this year, making some changes to it, making it more user-friendly, in addition to reviewing our leveled system. Right now, we have 5 levels of consequences that can be given and different options. We're reviewing those to make sure that those options are appropriate. And then we will, in the fall, we're going to provide students, their parents, and our staff with information about what our expectations are for student discipline, what are the potential consequences, and what's our purpose of discipline. Because I think the most important thing for people to understand is it's not just about giving consequences. It's about trying to change behavior and fix behavior and help students make better choices, because one day they will be out in the real world and those choices can have very different consequences out there. So it's helping them understand the impacts of their behavior. So it's a pretty inclusive process. We're looking to get some feedback from teachers. So any teachers out there that want to provide us feedback, they'll get a little survey in the next couple of days to provide us with some feedback and some insight on it. Does that help?
That helps a lot. And I know that Mr. Van Wyk, when he used to do it, he used to have parental input as well, or at least presenting it and asking if there's any questions. I don't know if we're going to continue doing that, or
Yeah.
because parents is
Oh, yeah.
a huge issue
Oh, yeah.
here. Right?
Okay. I think part of this is we have to re-communicate with parents what our expectations are. What does it mean when you're in school? What are the behaviors that we want students to exhibit? And what are the things we don't want them doing? Why don't we want them doing those things? So we're looking at the possibility this summer of doing some sort of superintendent open houses. And part of that could be we discuss discipline with them. And then in the fall, we're going to roll out a communications plan to talk with parents about what are the changes? What does it mean? What are our expectations? How are we going to communicate with you from the administrators? And how do they then communicate back if they have questions or concerns about a particular incident?
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Ms. Seacrest, claims for payment?
Yes, you all, excuse me, have been provided with the claims for payment with a total operating fund of $1,031,142.87. Food service fund of $34,090.46. Total expenditures, $1,065,233.33. Along with that, you have been provided with the list of claims as well as the check register. And if you have any questions, I'll answer them now.
Claims for payment as presented.
Second.
So we have a motion by Mrs. Sullivan Smoot, a second by Dr. Painter to accept the claims for payment as presented. Mr. Goodwin?
Yes.
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Dr. Painter?
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan Smoot?
Yes.
Yes. Ms. Seacrest, the VPSA resolution?
Yes, I will just read into the record the VPSA resolution that Mr. Samples worked to create. Resolution of the Page County School Board of Page County Public Schools declaring its intention to reimburse itself from the proceeds of one or more grants made by the Commonwealth of Virginia for certain expenditures made and/or to be made in connection with certain capital improvements. Whereas Page County Public Schools is the political subdivision organized and existing under the laws of the Commonwealth of Virginia, and whereas the division has paid, being no earlier than July 1, 2022, and will pay on or after the date hereof certain expenditures in connection with the capital project as more fully described in Appendix A attached hereto, and whereas the Page County School Board of the division has determined that the money to be advanced on or after the date hereof to pay the expenditures are available only for a temporary period, and it is necessary to reimburse the division for the expenditures from the proceeds of one or more grants to be made by the Commonwealth of Virginia from the proceeds of its tax-exempt equipment notes. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the board as follows. Section 1. The board hereby declares the division's intent to reimburse the division with the proceeds of the grants for the expenditures with respect to the projects made on or after July 1, 2022, which date is no more than 60 days prior to the date hereof. The division reasonably expects on the date hereof that it will reimburse the expenditures with the proceeds of the grant. Section 2. Each expenditure was and will be of a type properly charged to the capital account under general federal income tax principles. Section 3, the maximum cost of the project is expected to be $258,000. Section 4, the division will make a reimbursement allocation, which is a written allocation by the division that evidences the division's use of the proceeds of the grants to reimburse an expenditure no later than 18 months after the later of the date on which the expenditure is paid or the project is placed in service or abandoned, but is no event more than 3 years after the date on which the expenditure is paid. The division recognizes that exceptions are available for certain preliminary expenditures, cost of issuances, certain de minimis amounts, expenditures by small issuers, and expenditures for construction projects of the least 5 years. Section 5, this resolution shall take effective immediately upon its passage, passed and adopted this 12th day of May 2022. Page 3 of this document is the description of the project in a chart form. If you have any questions, I'm sure myself or Mr. Samples will answer them.
Make a motion, we approve the VPSA resolution.
Second.
With a motion by Dr. Painter and a second by Mr. Painter to approve the BPSA resolution.
Mr. Painter.
Yes.
Dr. Painter.
Yes.
Mr. Buford.
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan Smith.
Yes.
Ms. Gordon.
Yes. Panel of physicians for workers' compensation, Dr. Johnson.
Yes, ma'am. As you know, each year you all approve our panel of physicians, and what that means is when somebody gets hurt on the job and there may be a workers' comp situation, there are a few approved physicians that they can go to. If they go outside of that approved panel, then they run the risk of not being eligible for workers' comp. What we learned recently, some years ago, we began to use a program called Company Nurse. And Company Nurse is basically a telehealth. If you get hurt on the job, the employees are given a number, they call and they're connected to Company Nurse. And that's how the report, it's all automated now. So somebody gets hurt at a school, they file it with Company Nurse. Mrs. Seeley and I get a copy of that report, and then the employee goes and gets checked out health-wise. What we have discovered is now Company Nurse, it is their practice to direct staff or to suggest to staff that they call a physician called Concentra Telemed Virginia. And this is part of Company Nurse. This is part of the process. What Benita Seeley realized was they're not part of our approved panel of physicians. So we just need to get you all's approval to add Concentra Telemed Virginia to our approved list of physicians, so that should an employee take the recommendation of Company Nurse, they're not going outside of our approved list. So that came to my attention from Mrs. Seeley, and we don't have the ability to direct Company Nurse on what they should and shouldn't be doing, and they are doing this to all of their constituents, not just Page County.
By doing this, does it affect anything with the insurance company?
No, ma'am.
Approving and all that?
No, and if an employee doesn't have to do it, they can still go to one of the other physicians already on our list. It's just because what happens, an employee doesn't, you're hurt and you're not thinking, they go currently to this, and right now it could impact workers' comp because these folks are not on our approved list. So we need to get them on our approved list.
What was the name of that company again?
Concentra, Concentra, Telemed of Virginia.
So I'd like to make a motion that we add Concentra Telemed of Virginia to the panel of physicians for workers' compensation.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Painter and a second by Mrs. Sullivan Smoot to add Concentra Telemed of Virginia to the panel of physicians for workers' compensation.
Mr. Painter.
Yes.
Dr. Painter.
Yes.
Mr. Buford.
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan Smith.
Yes.
Ms. Gordon.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're up again.
Yes, ma'am.
The TLA Inc. Planned Service Agreement.
Yes, ma'am. 2 weeks ago, Mr. Williams presented to you all and gave you handouts on the TLA proposal, and that was the planned service agreement in which this company would provide maintenance to our hot water boiler systems at both Luray High School and Page County High School. And we were given options for 1 year or all the way up to 3 year service agreements. And Mr. Williams had made the recommendation that we go a year. And the second page of that document gave some detail. These folks would inspect and service our systems. They would clean flueways, they would brush and vacuum tops of boilers, all kinds of work. Mr. Williams is here again tonight if there are further questions, but it is our recommendation. It would cost us $13,500 for 1 year at both Page County High School and Luray High School.
And this contract is required because our maintenance folks aren't familiar with it, or they're not qualified?
I think Mr. Williams would agree it's it's both the qualification and the manpower. And, you know, we had an experience just 2 weeks ago where we had a mix of fuel and air coming out of one of the boiler pipes, and we thought the building was on fire. And Mr. Williams made that comment to me. There were emergency services everywhere. He said, this is an example where specialists, you hope to prevent that kind of thing.
You have to be certified, don't you, with boilers, cleaning and all that, and you're properly trained.
Training would be the key piece. Our maintenance guys are very good at a lot of things.
Does that maintenance agreement, does that include any materials, parts and materials, or is that extra?
It's it's in there. What
I believe it's service.
Service only?
Yeah, I believe so. And I've
So not filters, it's not like including the filter?
filters and nozzles and all that. It is
Okay.
inspection of the switches. And it's not like a low water cutoff switch. We had to change a few of those this year. It doesn't cover that, but it does cover the inspection of it to make sure that it is working properly.
Okay. So filters and all that, that's scheduled with them?
Tearing the boilers down completely, cleaning them.
Okay. And that would happen once a year for both?
That's correct.
It's a one-year contract.
It's a
We
one-year
don't know that it would happen once a year. It could be ongoing.
Right.
Yeah.
But they'll be cleaned at least once a year.
It'd be clean, come in.
Right. It's out.
And it's 13,500 per school or
No,
total?
ma'am, total. That's the total cost. Yeah.
Are we good with the budget on that? I make a motion that we go with the 1 year maintenance plan with TLA as presented for the cost of $13,500 for both high schools.
We have a motion by Mr. Painter and a second by Mr. Gubler to go with the TLA Inc. Plan Service Agreement for 1 year.
Yeah.
Yes.
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 Yes. Dr. Johnson?
The second piece as well was what Mr. Williams had explained last time, the permission to move forward with, and this is just for scope of work and pricing. We're not asking for permission to spend money tonight. We're asking permission, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Williams, we're asking permission to begin the process of looking at glycol removal from the systems, and that came as we got into our water treatment facility, became diluted with glycol, I think, with an incident recently. And the company would then investigate the function of the system and how it would operate on only water as opposed to the glycol water mix that we currently have. Do you want to add to that, Mr. Williams?
Not a whole lot to add to it, but that is correct. And we are, moving forward. We're not spending anything. We'll come back with a report of what they come back with, but we want a permission to move on is what we're asking.
So there's no cost associated with it right now?
Will that be something we do? Or
No,
if somebody
what we're gonna
comes in-
do is, this is to get information about what it might cost for us to formally make the
They're
transition.
going to examine our
Yeah.
system. They're going to look
So-
at how it functions currently with glycol, how it would function without glycol, the diagrams of pipes and setups, and make a
Are-
proposal.
Is that all the schools?
Just the
Or
two.
just
High schools.
Just the two high
So it's
schools.
an assessment,
Because if you
an evaluation.
Yes, sir.
That's the only two buildings that we have glycol.
So we're getting,
remember, I don't know, if it was when Mr. Kell was there or Eric, but in the hallway, going down to the locker rooms, there was
It's
a
myself and
Okay.
Mr. Benson, the two of us.
There is a leak and Riddleberger had to come in and they didn't do what they were supposed to do, and it all got
It
worked.
gushed out the ceiling.
And it was going into a trash can, and they said, what's no problem? Well, if a kid stuck his hand in there and put it in his mouth, it'd be a problem. And so anyway, they got it fixed, so
It's-
I think it should be looked into for future.
The problem we've
Go
had
forward.
occurred several times.
I'm sorry?
The problem that we've had since I've been here has occurred several times.
Okay, well, it definitely.
But for not really doing anything right now, is there anything to approve?
Well, I'm not
Because it's
We're
an
not-
action item.
I'm not sure. There may be some fees tied to engineering, and I do not know that. They will come back, I'm sure, and tell me that it's going to be X amount for the engineering to move on. I'm just,
So
Well,
because
there is
there are
gonna be
going to
some
be costs associated with it, we just want your approval to
For
move
some
forward.
outside third-party people.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, Chairperson, I move that we approve a third party to make an evaluation of the Flagpole removal from heating water systems as presented.
Nice wording, Al. Second.
So we have a motion from Mr. Gubler and a second from Dr. Painter to approve a third party to look at the glycol removal, evaluate the glycol removal from the heating water systems.
Mr. Goop.
Yes.
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 thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Fox, approval of overnight field trip.
Yeah, I actually have two for you tonight. So the first one is from Page County Middle School, and this is for students to attend the FCCLA Nationals, which will be in San Diego, California. It is June 28th through July 5th. There are 4 students attending. We'll have 2 teachers and 2 parent chaperones, and they will be obviously flying there and staying in hotels, and they'll be following all of the COVID protocols based on the airlines and the FCCLA and the hotels there. So tonight, we're asking for your approval. Their cost for all of this is being covered through fundraising. So that's one. I think you do them separately, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so I'll make a motion that we approve is it FCCLA?
FCCLA,
Yeah, to San Diego.
yes.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Painter and a second by Dr. Painter to approve the FCCLA trip to national.
Mr. Painter.
Yes.
Dr. Painter.
Yes.
Mr. Goop.
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan Smith.
Yes.
Ms. Ford.
Yes.
Thank you. And the second one tonight is a joint proposal for Page Middle School, Page High School, and Luray High School for the FFA. They will be attending the Virginia FFA convention this summer. It's in Blacksburg, Virginia, at Virginia Tech. That is June 27th through the 30th. There are 18 students total attending, 3 chaperones, and again, they will be following all of the COVID protocols of the FFA and Virginia Tech that they require. So we're asking for approval for the attendance at the Virginia Tech FFA convention.
Are they using fundraising too to pay for this?
Yeah, this one isn't quite as expensive, but yeah, some of it's coming from their funds and then from fundraising.
Mr.
Make a
Chairman,
motion.
go ahead.
Make a motion that we approve a joint field trip, FFA groups from Page Middle, Page County High, and Luray High to Blacksburg.
Second.
We have a motion by Mrs. Sullivan Smith and a second by Mr. Gubler to approve the FFA trip to Blacksburg.
Mr. Painter.
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Goop.
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan Smith.
Yes.
Ms. Ford.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Board member discussion?
Well, I'd like to give Dr. Fox, you and your team kudos for the events to recognize our retirees this week and with the Teachers of the Year and Support Staff of the Year. And the Valley Corp did a great job with it. And it was a good time. It was good to hear community, people talking, having discussions. It was good to hear that. So appreciate you doing that.
Thank you, sir.
And I would just like to say congratulations to all seniors at both Page and Luray as you graduate next Friday, the 21st of May. 13 years have flown by. And doesn't slow down much after this part either. So congratulations, your work and commitment has paid off, and we wish you the very best in all your endeavors in the future.
And I just wanted to say a shout out for the great information sharing that continues to come out of the superintendent's office. Hard work by Ms. Sechrist on the budget, given all the sort of wrenches that we've been thrown at. And I want to echo what Mr. Painter said about the events that were recently scheduled. And they were great. Nice to get out and meet some folks and also recognize some of those retirees and also teachers. Appreciate that.
Thank you. I'd like to echo what they both said. They were wonderful events. It was nice to see everyone be honored. And I think what really stuck out to me is that the teachers that were honored and the retirees, it's all about building relationships. To listen to people talk about the teachers that really made an impact or the support staff, it was the relationships and the connections they made with the kids. And I think that's pretty important. And that was nice to hear. I think they said it over and over. I have a motion to adjourn.
Motion that we adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion by Dr. Painter and a second by Mr. Painter to adjourn.
Yes.
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 Yes.